Her spirit is in her smile. Gina De Jesus, age 14, the baby of the family. She loves to dance. I like you. Now 25, she still has the sweetness of the 14-year-old girl she once was. What are words that describe what kind of 14-year-old you were?
Outgoing. I like to go outside and hang out with my friends, go skating.
What dreams did you have for yourself?
I wanted to become a lawyer.
Why?
I don't know, I think it was fun to win cases.
Gina grew up on the rough side of a hard town. The youngest child of 3, she was a slow learner in special education classes. And from an early age, her mother, Nancy Ruiz, always taught her to be wary of strangers.
I told her, like, if somebody came up to you and tell you, you know, can you help me look for my dog? I lost my dog. Don't stop. You continue to walk and you ignore the person. I told her to be aware of her surroundings at all times.
But all of Nancy's planning was no match for a predator like Ariel Castro. Tell us about that day. You were with his daughter?
Yes, Arlene Castro.
Did you have any idea what kind of man he was?
No. I just knew that that was her father and my dad was friends with him.
Gina is heading home from school with her friend Arlene and gives her some of her bus money to phone home.
We were talking about what we wanted to do because it was Friday. And then I was like, you could come over. And then she asked her mom, and her mom says no. She went the other way, and then I went the other way.
Now short on bus fare, Gina starts the long walk home when suddenly that maroon SUV pulls up at the curb. It's Arlene's father.
He asks me if you've seen my daughter. I said, yeah, she's right around the corner. And he was like, can you help me find her? And I said, sure.
When they arrive at the house, he invites her in.
I was sitting there, and he's like, starts to touch me and stuff. And then I'm like, what are you doing? You can go to jail. And then he just switches up like, well, okay, you're gonna go home now. He said, but you can't go through the same door you came in.
He leads Gina down into his basement, then grabs her and begins to chain her.
He didn't make it tight enough, so I threw it over and then I tried to run, but he sat on my back. And then I just start kicking him. I kicked him and I bruised him really bad.
As Castro overpowers the tiny girl, she starts screaming for help.
Nobody could hear me. The radio was too loud.
He always had that radio up so the neighbors can hear.
He had 2 radios up. He had one in the basement and one in the living room.
Help was only 2 miles away if Gina's parents only knew where to start.
I went searching everywhere. Dumpsters, schools, empty buildings.
The police feverishly search for clues, now suspecting that there is a serial criminal on the loose.
By air, on ground, every inch of Cleveland's west side under the microscope.
For the first few weeks, Gina is traumatized by Castro's disturbing behavior.
He would take my hair and like put it in his mouth. I don't know why he did it, but it was gross.
When was the first time that he took advantage of you?
May 7th.
She still remembers the exact date, but it's still too painful to say more. What are you comfortable in sharing and telling us about that?
I'm not comfortable.
During her first few days in captivity, Gina watches stories about her own kidnapping and begins to suspect that she is not Castro's first victim.
I kept watching the news after a while.
You'd hope that Amanda Berry will soon come home.
I was like, did you take Amanda? And he was like, no, why would you think that? I was like, because you took me.
1 month later, he admits the truth, allowing the girls to meet for the first time while watching their families on America's Most Wanted.
I called in friends after friends. They said they didn't have to see her.
So what was your initial feeling that, oh my goodness, there's 2 others, that I'm not the only one in here? He's got 3 of us.
There was something wrong with this man.
With 3 women now imprisoned in the house, each in separate rooms, Castro seemed to be creating a strange polygamous version of his ideal family. What was the relationship like with you and him?
I couldn't stand him, but I couldn't like show it all the time. I had to act like I liked him, and we were friends.
He deluded himself into thinking that he was leading a normal life with these women. He was providing for them. They had a little family, which is crazy, but that's the way he thought.
At first, Gina is Castro's new favorite.
He seems to treat me better than the other girls. I wonder if he's kinder to me because I'm the new girl. And I wonder what happens when I'm not new anymore.
As the new girl, Gina learns about Castro's rigid house rules, granting them freedom from their chains only to clean the house.
We had to use like a tiny drop of dish soap to wash like a full sink of dishes.
We had to put the pan in the center on the stove.
Like it couldn't be a little to the left, a little to the right.
Castro used this calculated deprivation to drive the girls apart. When you have very little, you can become jealous.
Yeah.
What were you jealous of?
It could be from getting more food, less food, different clothes. I mean, it was just simple things. But when you don't have anything, you're like, well, why don't I have that? I want that.
The girls were riding an emotional roller coaster when suddenly Amanda drops a bombshell. She writes about it in her diary.
I have a secret, a reason to fight. I think I'm pregnant.
When we come back,